back on the Boulevard, Sunday, April 7th. As always, here to prove to you there is no such thing as football season. The DC Defenders cap off an excellent UFL Week 2 by improving to 10-0 in Audi Field in franchise history. And it wasn't just a DC Defenders win in front of the 15,000 strong in Audi Field. No, it was a win for the XFL. And it just so happens that DC and San Antonio, who were two XFL teams that played each other last week, got the conference back in the win column and tied things up at 2-2 with the USFL. We are on YouTube, Twitter, X, Facebook, wherever you get your shows tonight. Drop us a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. We have everything from Week 2 for you, presented by the Believe Network. Zook, let's jump right in to UFL Week 2. The game I was at, the Memphis Showboats and the San Antonio Brahmas early Saturday kick. And Case Cookus went right down the field. 14-play drive to open things up. Thought it was really smart. They took the ball. Dawood Davis with a short touchdown catch put Memphis up early. Case Cookus might have ended up on the ground more than any other player in UFL Week 2. Took a big hit there, but reached out for the pylon to make it a 7-0 game on the one-point conversion. On defense for Memphis, it was Max Roberts, the former Vegas Viper, with the strip sack. Roberts got a penalty here for throwing his helmet, but still, huge play. I don't know how he got passed up in the XFL draft. Roberts, a force to be reckoned with a fumble recovery of his own there. 2nd and 2 now for Memphis. Early second quarter. Davis again inside the 5-yard line. Memphis kicks a field goal here on a 3rd and 1. Trying to get down in the field here, and it's San Antonio going to recover a fumble that bounced around like a hot potato, was originally ruled down by contact. Mike Pereira looks at it and he says, well, Tavante Beckett gets the strip. From there, who the hell knows what happens, but Darius Phillips apparently got a recovery. Asked DiFilippo after the game. He did not like the explanation he got, but his defense held strong up 10-0 here. Gave Cookus the ball back. Under 30 seconds to play in the half. Cookus doing it with his legs, gets out of bounds. A nice pickup on 2nd down to move the chains. They get another field goal. It was 13-0 Memphis at the half. But San Antonio wasn't done. They open up the second half with Speedy Stevenson, who had himself a monster game on Saturday afternoon. A.J. Smith saying, I got to put that first half behind me. That drive still ended up empty. And on 2nd and 26, 50-50 ball to Jonathan Adams, who comes down with it. It was a smaller crowd in Memphis, only about 8,000, but they erupted for this one. It was kind of a loaf of bread, and Cookus knew it, but you can count on Adams to make a play for you, get you inside the red zone. They settle for another field goal, make it 16-0. At that point, it became the Cody Latimer show. Just get open, said Chase Garbers, the GTFO special. Here to Marquez Stevenson, cut that Memphis lead to a score, 16-6. They're going to go for 2. John Lovett out of the backfield, big receiving threat for Vegas last year, makes it a 16-8 ball game. Into the 4th quarter now. Memphis staying aggressive. Cookus, nice pass there, Jonathan Adams. But then on the very next play, they try to punch it in. It was a fumble on the exchange on 3rd down to make it 4th and goal. And for the 4th time of the afternoon, Memphis had to settle for 3. Up by 11 late in this game. And they're getting flashbacks of Houston when the Roughnecks made it a 1-possession game in Week 1. But was this the icing on the cake? Picked off by Delrick Abrams Jr. with 4.5 minutes to go. San Antonio not out of it yet. They get the ball back with 2.5 minutes left. Garbers rolling right. Stevenson. Now 2 minutes to play. Justin Smith first down. They're down by 11. Look at the clock. Jontre Kirkland catches a touchdown pass with 48 seconds to go. They get a defensive pass interference on that one. Didn't matter because Kirkland caught it. They go for 3. It's a 5-point game. They could not get the 3. But a 4th and 12 in the first time in UFL history goes to Jontre Kirkland, who had forward progress, made it across the sticks. San Antonio in business. Gonna need a field goal or a touchdown. Can't have a field goal. Garbers to Stevenson. Twice over the middle, chewing apart that Memphis defense. 18 seconds to play. Down 5. Garbers, who had 12 passing yards in the first half, putting on a masterclass. 8 seconds to play, evading the rush again. Cody Latimer, touchdown San Antonio. Walks it off in Memphis. Unbelievable finish. DiFilippo besides himself. The Brahmas faithful that made the trip see a insane finish. 20 points for San Antonio in the fourth quarter. Those final 11 in 40 seconds. The 4th and 12 works. Case Cookus, one more shot at it. Ball's loose. Wyatt Ray gonna fall on top of it. The comeback was complete. San Antonio does the unthinkable, but Memphis still covers. I'm sure no Showboats fans cared that they covered in the end because the Brahmas come out on top. They trailed 19-8, like we said, with 40 seconds to play. They had 12 pass yards in the first half, 275 in the second half of this ball game, and most of that was Cody Latimer. 8 catches for 91 and a touchdown. For the home Showboats, 1 of 6 in the red zone, outscored 20-3 in the fourth quarter. Cookus just took so many hits, stayed in there, battled to the end, but it wasn't enough. Brahmas 20, Showboats 19. A tough act to follow, but St. Louis could do it with 40,317 in the Dome, breaks a spring football attendance record. Luis Perez told his boys before the game, this is our crowd tonight. Nice little jet sweep here to Javante Payton, who had himself a game. First drive, Peter Talmo Penu. We wondered if he was going to show up in the box score. He sure did. Forces an Arlington punt. It's A.J. McCarron, his first time with the ball. 3rd and 7 to Marcel Aitman. You're going to hear his name a lot tonight. Aitman emerging as that wide receiver 1 for St. Louis this year. Picks it up on 3rd down. Another 3rd down for McCarron. Not going to go his way this time. Vic Beasley, former Vegas Viper, showing up a lot in the highlights tonight. St. Louis trying one from 53. Oh, Schmidt off the left upright. 3rd and 10 for Perez now. Talmo Penu again, doing his former teammate dirty. Vegas fans are loving this highlight tonight. 2nd and 5 now. McCarron to Mateo Durant. He throws a block there, or at least tries to. But how about Durant, inactive? Last week, he was that 3rd running back for St. Louis, emerging as a star in this game. Still scoreless until Marcel Aitman finds the end zone from A.J. McCarron to open up the scoring. And the 40,000 in the Dome go crazy. 2-point conversion. St. Louis always gets creative on these plays. McCarron flips it to Darius Shepard. 8-0 ball game, early second quarter. Arlington marches right down the field. They bring in LSJ, scoring from a few yards out. Lindsey Scott Jr. taking over that short yardage package here on the 2-point conversion. They flip it to Tyler Vaughns. Throwback, pretty execution to Letty Brown. We're tied up at 8. 5 minutes to play in the half. Mateo Durant, what a run. Busting through tackles. Durant looking like a star early. McCarron on 2nd and 5. Threading the needle to Darius Shepard, rolled down at the 1. 2.5 minutes to play in the half. McCarron flips it to Durant. They pay it off with a touchdown. Battlehawks go up 6. They don't get the 2. Arlington kicks a field goal. Bruce Gradkowski getting aggressive. 4th and 2. Hakeem Butler picking up the first down. Midway third quarter, St. Louis trying to extend that lead. McCarron again, trying to get it to Darius Shepard, broken up by Ajene Harris. Perez gets it back. 3rd down of his own. Beautiful throw there to the sideline for Javante Payton. 2nd and goal now for Perez. Sal Cannella going up top for it. Touchdown Arlington. They take the lead back, 17-14. Very next drive for St. Louis. Aitman gets behind the defense. Marcel Aitman, 53-yard touchdown. Bruce Gradkowski loving it in the booth. Dome is shaking. 20-17, and they get the 1-point conversion with Durant to go up 4. Third quarter was electric. We told you we'd see some fireworks in this one. Perez would not give up. Beginning of the fourth quarter, down the field, Javonte Payton catches it in double coverage. What a game. Between Perez and Payton, they hand to Davion Smith. 3rd and 1. He scores. Arlington retakes the lead 23-21. Big one-point conversion on the way. They got to get up 3. Scott Jr. breaks a tackle, fights through the defense, and finds an open man. 24-21. 9 minutes to play. 4th and 2 for McCarron. Off his back foot, gets the completion to who else? Darius Shepard always seems to be there as the security blanket. And for Luis Perez, it was Chris Payton-Jones breaking that one up on 4th and 6. They had to settle for a field goal. So it's Taylor Russolino, who's been so solid from 46. No! Russolino misses it right. And we said AJ with the ball with 2 minutes left was a deadly combination of Mateo Durant rolling down into Arlington territory here. Did you let him score? Should you have? It didn't matter because Schmidt, that's Andre, of course, the Dome gets a win. Battlehawks walk it off in the final seconds. They don't cover the 5, but who cares? They get a win in front of the home crowd, 27-24. Mateo Durant showing up big time in the box score. 14 carries, 104 yards, and a score. In fact, I think St. Louis went for about 6.1 yards a carry. Arlington defense just not able to stop the run in their early 2 losses. They did go 3 for 3 in red zone touchdown opportunities, and Perez was dealing with 10 different players catching a pass. But the 40,000 strong in the Dome carry the Battlehawks to a win at the wire. St. Louis 27, Arlington 24. Into Sunday's action now. In Ford Field, where they had a Motor City miracle last week, Birmingham was going to show a challenge to that Michigan offensive line. Taco Charlton off the edge here, wallops E.J. Perry. Charlton had 3 sacks on the day. Here's a 3rd and 6 after Birmingham opens the scoring with a field goal. Marcus Sims became E.J. Perry's favorite target. Here's Perry, across the middle, picked off. Birmingham defense showing up strong. This time as Adams gets the pick there. Puts Stallions in offensive mode as Adrian Martinez was back and forth with Matt Corral all day in that 2-quarterback system to find Amari Rogers. Martinez again, across the middle. Ricky Person gonna pick up a first down here. First down's hard to come by against that Michigan defense. Here's Martinez evading the rush. Getting another first down. He had 52 yards rushing last week. This week goes for another good day on the ground. Birmingham kicks another field goal. Perry was shortly benched for Danny Etling until, well, he fumbled. Another takeaway for the Birmingham defense. They had a couple last week against Arlington, a couple more this week against Michigan. One of the better defensive units in the league, coached by John Chavis. Stallions trying to put some points on the board. Martinez, so good with his legs. A play never dies when you got Adrian Martinez. Sets Birmingham up for another field goal. 9-0 until Michigan gets the explosive play of the afternoon. E.J. Perry, Marcus Sims, 78 yards. Nobody does explosive plays like that Michigan offense. And on the 1-point conversion, Perry showing off the wheels, rolls right, gets Cole Hicatini to cut the Birmingham lead to 2. Late first half, Birmingham goes all the way down the field. Matt Corral buttons it. Gets the first down at the 1-yard line, and you know what Birmingham's going to do here. T formation. Ricky Person over the top. And just like they did against Arlington in week 1, they sneak one in right before half on you. Skip Holtz loves that middle 8, as the coaches would call it. They get the 2. Kevin Austin, nice catch there. 17-7 Birmingham. And just when you thought that was going to be the last point of the half, nope. Jake the Earthquake Bates with unlimited range does it again from 60+. I mean, this kid's not going to leave Ford Field as a UFL kicker at this point. Into the second half now, Martinez. The Birmingham red zone woes continue. They just could not punch it in the second half. There's a fumbled snap in that T formation. Another field goal for Chris Blewett. Birmingham just could not put Michigan away in the second half. Jake Bates, another rocket. I mean, do we even have to show that highlight? Of course it's right down center street. Unbelievable run for Jake Bates, the best kicker in the UFL and maybe the NFL. Credit Justin Tucker. Matt Corral with a beautiful run. I mean, he's never going to slide. I keep saying it. Puts his shoulder down, gets the first. Here's Corral again, escaping. Matt Corral extending the play. Intercepted. Gibson Jr. keeping Michigan alive. 6 minutes to play. This is what the Panthers defense does. Colin Bauer drawing it up on the sideline. Well, here's E.J. Perry. Third down. First down. Late hit from Scooby-Dooby-Doo. 15 yards in the Mystery Machine. 20-13. Birmingham still leads it. What does Perry have in him? Ice in his veins last week. This week, a whole lot of Stallions in his grill. But he picked up another first down here. 2nd and 6. Big pickup there. Tick, tick. Clock approaching a minute. Perry working some magic. Complete to Cole Hicatini. 20 seconds to go. Ball game on the line. And of course, it was the Stallions front saving the day. 7 sacks. 3 of them from that man there, Taco Charlton. Birmingham covers. They improve to 2-0. It was a 2-quarterback day with Martinez and Corral rotating reps. But Martinez, 8 carries, 65 yards to add to his rushing total. Stallions, though, got to clean up those red zone woes. Just 1 of 6. Blewett had a ton of field goals for the Panthers, just 47 yards on the ground. Disappointing day for West Hills, but Panthers defense a bright spot. Held Birmingham to 2 of 10 on 3rd down. And Jake Bates, who was an early candidate for UFL MVP, 2 of 2 on his kicks with a long of 62. Stallions, 20. Panthers, 13. Saving the best for last, the Beer Snakes back in Audi Field as DC looks to get their first win and first touchdown of the season. I was thinking this would be it, but DeAndre Baker tries to scoop and score off the Momo Sonogo block punt. He couldn't pick it up. So it bounces out of bounds. Still going to be DC ball. Oh, that would have been that Audi Field magic where they just seem to get improbable takeaways. But that one squirts out of bounds. Very next play, Jordan Tamu picked off. Threw it a little high. Corn Elder. There's no way. Where is everybody? Where did everybody go? I guess they were downfield. Nobody back for DC. Corn Elder. 98-yard interception return. We get a block punt and a pick 6. UFL, baby. DC, next drive. Darius Higgins, back from injury, makes it 6-6. Jarek Garantano came out. Reed Sinnett came in the second quarter, and Sinnett proved that he should have been QB1 all along. Leads to a Houston field goal. 9-6 ball game. Tamu finding Chris Rowland, the former Philadelphia Star, with a big reception there in his Audi Field debut. And Briley Moore, whose spectacular catch rating should be a 99 if the UFL ever comes out with a video game, does the touchdown chug. He did it against Orlando last year with De'Aaron King throwing it to him. Look at this extension from Moore. Friend of the program makes it 12-9. DC, late first half, pass interference. That's going to put Houston in field goal range. And if J.J. Molson wanted to be more comfortable, they were going to get him even more yards here across the middle to Hall. So Houston, with an opportunity to get points before the half, they convert on a 43-yard field goal. Beer Snake inching its way to the top, and we got a tie game at the half. Sinnett really opened it up in the third quarter. Touchdown pass here to Kiki Chisholm. What are the odds? DC has Kiki QT. Houston has Kiki Chisholm. Touchdown pass makes it 18-12. And Houston was trying to go up 2 scores. Kirk Merritt off and running. Baker strips it right into the breadbasket of Farrad Gardner. I would hold my breath there as a DC fan. Things were not looking good until the DC defense does what they do. Greg Williams scheming up that turnover. Beautiful play from DeAndre Baker. And Cam Harris was off and running after DC kicked a field goal to cut the lead to 3. 10 minutes to play. Tamu, 4th and 7. Throwback screen to Alex Ellis. Just how they drew it up out of the timeout. DC in the red zone now, where they were excellent last year, not so good last week. Tamu Ty Scott, what a route. Corner of the end zone, touchdown defenders. Scott coming in for the injured Brandon Smith, making his presence felt yet again. Did it 2 weeks in a row, they get the 2. Alex Ellis makes it 23-18. Last chance for Houston, or is it? DC gonna have to punt it back here. In the shadows of their own end zone. Justin Hall gonna make a play. 40, 35, inside the 30. So just wait. Hold your breath, DC fans. I know I was. Completion here to Kiki Chisholm. Minute 10 to go. False start. Back them up 5. About a minute to play. 3rd and 7. Ball game on the line. Sinet gets those 5 yards back, but on 4th and 2, they jump again. DC drawing the false starts. Audi Field home crowd is rocking. They're the ones who caused that. And with the game on the line, the DC defense comes up strong for the 10th straight win in Audi Field, where they've never lost in the nation's capital, the greatest home field advantage in sports. They never said it would be easy, especially when Reed Sinet comes in and starts looking like Peyton Manning. 19 of 30 for 221 and a touchdown for Sinet, but the Roughnecks were outscored 11-0 in the 4th quarter, large in part to Jordan Tamu and Ty Scott. Chris Rowland, a great game, 2 catches, 55 yards. DC gets back to their winning ways. They were 3 of 4 in the red zone on touchdown chances. And how do you win? You stop the run. Defenders improved to 1-1. It's DC 23, Roughnecks 18. Woo! Take a breather, week 2. It just seems like, Zook, these games keep coming down to the final seconds. We saw it in week 1. All 4 games, yet again, come down to the final possession. Well, I was in Memphis for our Battle of the Brands tour, which after 1 week, the USFL led 1-0. So it was up to the San Antonio Brahmas to give the XFL a win in our Battle of the Brands tour. Check it out from Memphis. We'll be back after this. I travel the country to witness football's newest rivalry, the XFL versus the USFL. In the XFL corner, the San Antonio Brahmas. In the USFL corner, the Memphis Showboats. Welcome to the Battle of the Brands tour. Get an outside look at Simmons Liberty Bank Stadium. This opened in 1965, home of the Memphis Tigers. They do the Southern Heritage Classic here every year. And of course, the Liberty Bowl. All right, heading into the stadium, see what this place is all about. Boats made it down to the field here at the Liberty Bowl. Pretty good looking joint. Destroying. Might need a game-winning kick today.
Proceed down the concourse to gate 4.
Time for kickoff. We know you got Matthew making an appearance.
AlternativeFootballNetwork.com. Check us out.
It's a Liberty Bank Stadium press box. Well, halftime update here from Memphis. It's been all boats in the first half. They take the ball, which was a great heads-up idea by John DeFilippo. They go right down the field, 14 plays, score on the first drive. San Antonio offense just out of sorts. Max Roberts, who was over from the Vegas Vipers last year, gets a huge strip sack and a fumble recovery, puts him in field goal range. Now, it's a 13-0 game. Memphis up at the half. Second half update here. Memphis with an 11-point lead. Brahmas were driving down the field, and a big-time interception from the Showboats. Well, the Brahmas completed the first ever UFL 4th and 12 to keep the ball instead of the onside kick after a touchdown. It's a 5-point game, 20 seconds left. Could be a wild finish. Unbelievable. San Antonio does it with just a couple seconds left. Chase Garbers, the Cody Latimer, the 4th and 12 made this a game. One of the absolutely most crazy finishes I've ever seen. 11-point game, with 40 seconds left, the Brahmas come back and win it. That's a dub, baby.
The call, can you just talk about how that affected the game and what the explanation was there?
Signing off here from Memphis. Brahmas 20, Showboats 19. San Antonio scores all 20 points in the fourth quarter. And if you like exciting finishes, the UFL is for you. The Brahmas entered halftime with -1 pass yard. They end it with about 280. Memphis, just that close. UFL is here to stay. Another successful Battle of the Brands Tour destination. And just remember, there's no such thing as football season. Back on the Boulevard, Sunday, April 7th. And as always, there is no such thing as football season. We're presented by the Believe Network tonight. Watching through that little tour recap, Zook, I got to share a little story. So, checking out warm-ups, catch up with A.J. Smith, the Brahmas offensive coordinator. And I told him I had never seen the patented GTFO play call happen in person. I said, I got to see it, Coach. I got to see it to believe it. And he said, we got one for you today. Well, 20 points for the Brahmas in the fourth. You couldn't count on two hands how many times he called GTFO. I get a DM after the game. He says, thanks for the foreshadowing. GTFO was the game winner. One of the greatest play calls in all of football.
What's that stand for?
Get the frig open. Can't wait to have AJ on the show at some point, man. Some elite AJs in this league between Smith and McCarron. They got that name locked down, especially this week. Well, we bet a lot on the Boulevard. In fact, we gave you 5 plays from the week that was. This was on Thursday's show. We had, action all over the board. Totals, spreads. You had more than one play for the first time in quite a bit. May have come back to bite you.
It's been a while.
If anybody notices Zook not looking as woolly as he normally does. Well, we did some bets on the Boulevard, and if you could see, he's not quite clean shaven, but he did trim the beard ski. And
we got rid of it a little bit.
When you lose a best bet, you got to change things, right?
Yep.
So Zook's changing it up heading into week 3. If you're on podcast, we cashed the Brahmas money line. That was a win for me. And it has never paid off more, Zook, for me to just take the money line. It was juicy.
Just don't even get
The
me
VIG
started.
was -130.
Don't get me started.
And I told you, I can't afford, after a 1-2 showing in week 1,
Right.
to not just take the money line.
I know.
And give the books what they wanted, right? But I
And
ended up cashing.
I
didn't deserve to.
I took the -1.5, and I lost by the Zook hook.
Do we want to talk about that? Do we want to talk about it now?
We can.
Okay. So you laid out a scenario for me before the show that I got a different perspective of from being down on the field. I was also scratching my head. But you shed some new light on what happened there. And if anybody else had the Brahmas spread, they might be asking the same question. What is it here that went wrong at the end of this game with Jontre Kirkland?
Jeez. So we get a DPI.
Yeah, on a touchdown pass.
On a touchdown pass.
Cut it to 5.
We're told that we can, enforce the penalty on the try.
It was
So
it was
we're thinking we
chaos.
can go for 3
Yeah,
from the 1.
right.
And then they're like, no, that's not happening. And the coaches were told that they had to decline the penalty to have the touchdown stand.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why. I still don't understand the ruling.
Anybody have an answer for that? So basically, in simple terms, this mattered if you were back in the Brahmas spread. Jontre Kirkland catches a touchdown pass. There's a flag for DPI thrown synonymously with the touchdown catch. And it cuts it to 5, so it's 19-14. Now San Antonio has to go for it. Of course, you're going to go for 3 because you can get it from the 1.
Right.
Which confused me a little bit because I was like, okay, why not go for 2? Make it a 3-point game. You get a field goal, tie it. They were like, I'll take from the 1-yard line for 3. Well, that didn't happen. Then they said you can't enforce the penalty on the try, so they back them up to the 10, and AJ still calls a 3-point conversion.
But that's the problem. Like, you don't have to decline the penalty
For the touchdown to stand. Yeah.
For the touchdown to stand. Touchdown stands. You made the touchdown.
Yeah, and they announced
he
that
didn't
in
like
the stadium.
drop the ball or
Right.
I mean, he scored a touchdown. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. So I'm pretty salty over this.
Why? Because if the Brahmas get the 3-pointer from the 1, it's 19-17.
Right.
They go down and score the touchdown to Latimer. They cover.
Yeah.
So
And
significant to some how that game ended. Now, let me add as a disclaimer, Zook, I got to say this because we're going pretty far down this road.
I know.
If you were a Brahmas backer, you probably didn't deserve to win. So I feel like I was possibly on the wrong side here just because of how that game was handled for 59 minutes. Now, I come out with a win. Of course, the record is going to be 3-2-1 for me total now. I go 2-0-1 this week with a push on DC. But can I complain? Like, can you complain that they didn't cover after being down 16-0?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course you can.
I'm in the mix. I'm in the mix.
Right.
My problem is, so we take that DPI, which is weird. They probably should convert on that and get me the points, right? But my other issue is that when they finally scored the last touchdown, were they lining up for 2? Line up for 2?
They kneeled it out. I don't even know. It
I know.
might have just been 1 at that
No,
point.
they lined it up for 2.
Yeah.
They get a penalty, a false start.
Yeah.
That backs it up to 10. Then they sit on it.
Yeah.
No! What are you doing
now
to me?
yeah, see,
No! I can't do it.
That's why I wanted
Ow.
to bring the first conversion up because a lot of people are mad about the second conversion because the total was also in play where you're sitting at 39 total points and
I have
the
two
conversion
I have
would've
2
cashed me over.
chances to cash on this,
Yeah.
and I got screwed on both.
Happy to see San Antonio come back and cash me a best bet. I mean,
So, anyways, I lose by the hook, and
what a roller coaster of emotions
Oh
in
yeah,
that game. I
'Cause-
mean, I go from thinking, here we go, XFL 0-3, another lost best bet. How would I ever recover from this?
yeah. Until we
In
got
a
to
matter of 40 seconds of football, I'm on the sideline dapping up San Antonio players saying, thank you. And I actually talked to Doug Whaley as well, who's exec in this league, and I said, thank you for putting that 4th and 12 in because I think we can all agree, except the showboats, of course,
sure.
that play is electric and it extends the game, and it's so much fun when you come back from down 11 points to win a best bet. So sorry you didn't take the money line. I tried to give you some advice.
Oh, don't
Anyway,
you dare!
Let's move on from this one
Don't you
before
dare!
things get ugly.
Let's move.
I also
Yeah.
had DC -5. Interesting situation in this one. They win by 5. I push. I don't lose. I don't win. So we're sitting here watching the game at Studio Z because couldn't get out to DC this week because we had a show to do, right?
Right.
So we're sitting here watching the game. It was
What
DC
was the
needed
score?
DC needed 11 points, so it had to be 18-12.
Yeah.
So it was 18-12. Houston was up, right? And I'm trying to figure out, okay, I got the under 41.5, right? So I have to keep that under. I also have DC -5. So there's got to be only one score combination that I can push on one and win the other. And I'm thinking, okay, under still in play. If I get 23-18, I need a field goal, which they got,
Right.
and then I need a touchdown, which they get,
He's like,
and a 2-point conversion.
no. Well, make sure we tell the audience the right thing because you're like, how the hell do I get 11?
Yeah, you had
I'm
to
like,
break it
all
down
right,
for me.
6
In this league,
2-point
possible.
conversion,
yeah,
field goal.
right.
Now it happened the reverse way of what I was talking about,
yeah.
but whew,
Yeah,
boy,
we were thinking maybe touchdown, then field goal. But
got it.
they get 11 points, which meant they went up 23-18. So I'm sitting at 41, and then I'm also sitting at 5. So one more point is scored in that game. I lose both. Or no, I win. Then I win the -5, but I lose the under.
Right. You were,
So
you were
I wanted to sit in a position where I could push on one and win one.
only
and
destined
lose
to win
nothing.
one.
I didn't
only
want to
destined.
damage
yeah.
control. Didn't want to lose anything.
Yep.
So I end up 2-0-1 on the week. Probably the weirdest week for me, and the way that my plays cashed.
Yeah,
Like,
and it's super crazy because I'm sitting here. I mean, I hate DC.
I mean, how close was I? How close was I to 0-3 this week?
I hate DC.
Ooh.
I want them to lose because I don't like them. Right?
You picked them. You picked them on
I know
Thursday.
I picked them, but like more importantly to me, XFL versus USFL conference wise, we're now 2-2 with the DC win.
I thought it was over last week. I mean, just
Oh yeah,
sign the check.
Well, we're not online chatters, so we don't really know that. We know what we know.
I was told it was over. I had people tweeting me at the end of the game saying,
"That's it.
Pack it in. XFL's going to lose every single game."
So we cash in on that, and I like when Matt loses money, but I wanted that outcome more than anything. What? Oh, come on, you know that there's a little rivalry.
I like when you have to shave.
I'm like the XFL, and you're like the USFL. And I pride myself on getting better gambling results than you.
Before we move on here, I have one more gripe with you.
This is great.
You don't pick another team, even though you had several attractive options. You had Memphis, who their head coach won you a Super Bowl in Philly.
Yes, sir.
You have the Battlehawks, who's half the damn Sea Dragons.
Yep.
And you don't pick a team. You know why Zook didn't pick another team? Because he didn't want to lose the straight up bets and wear the plunger and the clown nose again.
Don't you do it. No.
Now he's shaving his beard.
Listen.
Jeez.
I'm looking right into the camera.
Talk about Arlington +5.
I didn't take another team because I know Seattle's coming back. That's where my allegiance is, and that's where it's going to stay.
Yeah, well, hold your breath. So, you had
Arlington.
You had one more best bet that pulled you to an even weekend. You needed it. And
Well, it wasn't even. But
your handicap of this one?
Who threads the needle better than me, baby? Who threads it? I do. Let's go. I take Arlington +5. I say on the show, St. Louis is winning by a field goal. So I take them, money line. But I take St. Louis to win.
Right.
I get the 5. I screwed up. I actually bet +4, and I still win. Let's go.
That was a game that we both kind of landed on, that it would be back and forth.
We did. We talked a lot about it.
I wasn't ready to take Arlington, though, against the spread with that environment. And, they end up covering. And you look, you get your...
I look good. I look good for a change.
Yeah, you get your flowers there, Zook.
That's a white hat. Probably.
So, hey, I think you said 60% that is with us total.
Yeah, 60 total. Yeah, we're doing well.
Not bad.
Anything over 50 is, man, what a bonus.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Turned a 1-2 week 1 into a 2-0-1 week 2, and for Zook, still over 500 with that 2-1 record, which is a strong start. That second best bet, something you're going to do going forward? We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. It's going to be week to week. It's going to be what I feel. Honestly, I'm lucky because I really wanted to take Arlington money line. I thought they were going to win that game, and last second, I changed to thread the needle.
It's a good thing you did.
Yeah.
Because off the leg of Taylor Russolino went that one.
I know.
Yeah. Well, those were our best bets. Pretty good week for the Boulevard in week 2. And again, we told you, proceed with caution in week 1. Once we see these teams, I promise you we can start getting you an advantage. Every week that goes by is more information and more data points for us to be able to give you winning plays.
And we're still 60% without knowing a lot.
Right. I almost think next year, week 1, we shouldn't even do best bets. Just wait for week 2.
Well,
all right.
I don't know. I won. You didn't.
Enough about our wallets. Let's talk about these games.
Let's talk about DFS.
How comes I always forget to talk about it?
I don't know. Like
was it that forgettable of a week for him? I think he actually did all right.
He did all right. He went 2 out of 3 again.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Sorry, Henry. I promise I'm thinking about you.
You just have no respect for this guy.
The People's Gambler. Case Cookus, 17.5. Anthony McFarland, the Sidham, had 2.9. And Benjamin Victor with 1.8 was the sleeper. Those were the People's Gamblers plays in DFS for week 2. So, again, 2 for 3. Got to work on those sleepers, but
yeah, not too bad. Yeah, so I do want to say, I spoke to him last week about what a sleeper really was.
Yeah.
He did.
Oh, here we go again.
First two, spot on, right? Spot on. But I think we're going to have another conversation. One
Yeah,
more
Birmingham
conversation about what a really sleeper is.
Birmingham didn't really throw it all
Because
that much today.
he was 100% still sleeping.
Right.
And, all right.
Those
but
are tough
not
'cause
bad,
it's like
though.
what standard does he hold himself to as far as like you got to find a guy who's like super high value but at a low price. That's the tough part.
But he's out there saying
Yeah.
right on X, I'm going 3 for 3 this week. Got it. 2 for 3, not bad. We'll take it.
All right. Into our weekend of games for Zook and I to unpack some things here. And we'll get out of here on Sunday night. So our first game was the game I was at. We kind of talked about it a little bit. San Antonio and Memphis. Whew. Where to start with this one, Zook? Wow. In the first half of this ball game, San Antonio had run, I think, 14 plays for a total of less than 15 yards. It was about as bad as you can get. But we've seen teams in this league that have been able to start slow and bounce back, especially with this format. The Memphis defense was near perfect in the first half. They get a fumble recovery from Max Roberts on a beautiful strip sack. San Antonio just out of sorts offensively, not getting the ball to their playmakers, frustrated with the rush. Cody Latimer nowhere to be found. And on the other side, Case Cookus was dealing, finding open receivers. He was on the ground more than any UFL player I've seen in recent history. I mean, he lived on his behind that entire game. He was so tough for Cookus to grit this one out. And 16-0 becomes a lead that evaporates into thin air. And actually, I think the turning point of this game, 19-8, right? Chance to go up even more. Actually, it was 16-8 at this point. Chance to go up a full score, fumble on 3rd and goal. Cookus has to fall on it. They settle for their 4th field goal. And Coughlin was really good as a kicker, but you just can't go 1 of 6 on touchdown chances and expect to beat A.J. Smith. Now, at the end of that game, I saw Brahmas were as high as 70-1 on the money line.
Yeah, this
And
was sick. Sick.
shout out to Justin Freeman from Run the Sims, who actually took 70-1. I mean, unbelievable the odds that were stacked against the Brahmas in this one. And they come back and win it. They didn't run the ball at all the entire second half. They had maybe 11 rushing plays on the day. And I think the most fascinating thing about this one was Chase Garber's stat line. Goes from 12 passing yards in the first half, and he ends up with this stat line. 29 of 40 for 287 and 3 touchdowns and a pick. 275 passing yards in the second half alone. How does a team win, Zook, that has 14 penalties for 142 yards? They were out of sorts.
I don't know.
The defense was arguing with each other. Devontae Beckett got ejected. There was frustration between Bryce Thompson and Darius Phillips in the secondary at points. And we saw Wade Phillips on the sideline kind of become that calming presence where he was like, we need to come together as a team.
Sure.
You're playing as individuals right now. And Coach Wade is
That's actually a nice way of saying
a guy
it.
that, yeah, you have a lot of respect for, that he was able to keep his cool in that moment. Because I can tell you right now, emotions were flowing on that San Antonio sideline. There was a lot of guys that were hot, that were not happy about how things were going. But, yeah, ultimately, I think Marquez Stevenson, like we previewed this game on Thursday, and we talked about Stevenson being the fastest player in the UFL.
Right. Well,
Jontre
yeah.
Kirkland
What's his 40 speed?
I mean, it's got to be 4.3. Yeah, he's 6 catches, 103 yards, and a touchdown. He catches 2 huge ones on that last drive, just gets open. The GTFO is literally perfect for him. And, yeah, we came in, and our preview in this one was all about the San Antonio defense against the Memphis offense and the edge that they had there. Well, the defense held up in the second half, but it turned out the real edge in the second half was the San Antonio offense against the Memphis defense, who got a pick with 4.5 minutes to go. How
Right.
much more can you ask of them in that situation?
Yeah, this game, a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're all over San Antonio. And then until the fourth quarter, I'm sitting here watching the game like, man, I don't know anything about this league. What is going on, right? But the same thing crept up. Memphis controlled the first half, just like they did last week. But they just can't put a team away. They got lucky to win week 1 the same way. They can't do it. They can't put a
Right.
team away. They controlled everything.
Yeah.
Ball control, clock control. Defense was great. The first half, we have a group text. I'm saying Memphis is just faster.
Yeah.
They're running to the ball. They're controlling everything. And then fourth quarter hits, boom. What happens? GTFO.
Right.
We got all kinds of weird stuff happening. It's so hard to understand why you can collapse that bad.
Let's talk about the fumble. This is something that was talked about in the press conference a little bit. There's a fumble on a 3rd and 1. We showed the highlight of it earlier.
Right.
Cookus appears to pick up a first down on a sneak. At this point, I think Memphis had a 10-point lead. And San Antonio strips it before Cookus goes down. It was actually Tavante Beckett who made the play. And the ball ricochets. It somehow ends up at the sideline.
Sure, but
And like four
whoa,
guys.
before you even get there,
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking 5 seconds before
Whistle
recovery.
blows. Yeah.
Whistles, tons of them.
Down by contact. That's what they rolled on the field.
Yep.
But guys are playing after the whistle, and Darius Phillips scoops it up before it goes out of bounds. And Mike Pereira immediately was like, well, now we got to look at the fumble because the ruling's down by contact, so that's automatic review. They say, no, Tavante Beckett stripped it out. He was not down.
Balls
And
out.
we have
Balls out.
we have a clear recovery, and the key word was continuation.
Right.
Pereira said if nobody chased the ball and it just sat there, not a clear recovery, right? So can't give the football to San Antonio.
Right, because if Memphis quits on the play because they heard the whistle,
Which a lot of their guys did.
they
only had one guy out there versus like three Brahmas.
they had a few chasing
Yeah.
the ball, but I think the most important one was the last guy chasing the ball, heard the whistle, quit, and then the recovery happened.
Right. It was an
The only guy
awkward play.
within 5 yards of the ball,
Right.
he quit. So
Yeah, it was an awkward play. Very hard to figure out in the press box what was going on without having access to Pereira. And they did put him on the Jumbotron at times.
but the key part was that I guess not enough people quit. So
Yeah.
even though the whistle blew, there was still a continuation, and they got the ball.
Anyway, talking to DeFilippo in the press conference, he said he actually had to, if you saw in the tour recap there, he had to compose himself and take a breath when he was asked about this fumble because he said the explanation he got was very vague. And a lot of people were saying, not sure how you could change that. And that was a key play because San Antonio ended up with the ball back. But I don't think that lost it for Memphis. Of course, one play doesn't lose any football game for any team, but what lost it for Memphis was falling asleep at the wheel yet again. They did it against Houston, and they had enough talent to force a turnover late on a punt. But when you step up in competition, you go from playing Houston to San Antonio. That's when you got to finish, and Memphis was not able to do that. 4th and 12. Zook, our thoughts on moving this thing up 3 yards. I personally love it after seeing it.
Oh, absolutely. This is great for the game. If you're on the Memphis side, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then even on that play, he caught the ball at the sticks,
Right.
and that's what got him. He came back a little bit, and when the play ended, he was short.
Yeah.
But they gave him forward momentum.
That true line spot.
And, oh boy. Yeah.
That was 15. It's not a conversion.
No,
so
absolutely not.
move it up.
Are they running a little bit further to the sticks at that point? I don't know. There's a lot of things that can happen. I like the 4th and 12. I think it's exciting.
Extends the game. That's exactly what San Antonio needed to stay in this one and Can't say enough about Chase Garbers. Comes in the UFL and quickly becomes an early MVP candidate. I mean, this kid's unreal. And
He's playing well.
he, on those final 2 drives, just looks so natural on the run. I mean, every single highlight we showed, he had to roll out to his right. He was not in the pocket. He did not have a clean pocket. Hats off to San Antonio, by the way. Before we move on, Zuck, I have to make this point. Did not have their starting left tackle, Derek Kelly, who was inactive on Saturday. They lost their starting center, Alex Mollett, who was
Touchdown catcher.
all XFL
Touchdown
guy last
boy.
year. Remember, most of these UFL teams only roster like 7 or 8 offensive linemen. They were down 2 starters, and they pulled that off. With 2 backup offensive linemen and a center, that's the most important position as far as like, now we got to come back. Not a single false start. Nothing went wrong. So, like, speaking to the depth of the San Antonio offensive line, it's very hard for me, and I cannot believe I'm saying this. It's very hard for me right now to picture any other team winning the XFL conference after the performance. And I don't want to overreact, but they just, if they can beat you when they're down 11 with 40 seconds to play, how are you supposed to beat them? Like, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, they played 3 bad quarters.
Still got you.
And still got you.
And it's not like they really got lucky.
No.
Either. I mean, they played football. And they beat your defense. So, San Antonio down 2 offensive linemen. Down 11, they do it. And they moved to 2-0. Unbelievable. Unbelievable day for San Antonio. Next game. Wow. We went from a semi-small crowd in Memphis. It was about, and I'm being nice, it was, I think, 8,500 or something like that, to an absolute showcase
40K.
in St. Louis. Yeah, and I think there was a stat out there that said opening weekend of the UFL, 44,000 total attendance. St. Louis alone, 40K in week 2. They break a spring football attendance record, and I saw some videos of third downs there. They were loud. Our guy, the People's Gambler, was out there in the crowd. Shout out to him.
Oh, you remembered him?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
It's part of the show, so that's our guy. So, yeah, St. Louis. Wow. This game, I think, from our Thursday previews, was probably the closest we got from this is what to expect. I talked a lot about Lindsey Scott Jr. He ends up scoring the first touchdown for the Renegades, but Luis Perez was dealing in this one. Offense improved for Arlington from week 1 to week 2. They didn't go to sleep in the second half. They stayed in this game, and they had a chance to tie it with a minute and a half to go. And Russolino, unlike him, which speaks to how raucous the Dome was, missed the kick. Takeaways in this one, Zook, I think, for me, Arlington run defense needs help. You get Mateo Durant. Hats off to him. Inactive, 3rd-string running back week 1. St. Louis could not run the ball. They go to practice. We talked to Steven Gonzalez. He says, emphasis this week, run the ball. They did it. 6.1 yards a carry. I mean, that's for UFL games this season. I think that's the highest. 6.1 yards a carry is quite the number. And they only rushed for 110, but it felt like that was the difference to me, was that St. Louis run game, and we know they could throw it. Marcel Aitman is probably the wide receiver 1. Hakeem Butler has been drawing a lot of attention, and Aitman seems to be reaping the benefits of that. I don't think he's going to get open much longer when, he's got double teams coming at him.
Oh, teams are going to.
And you still got Peasy in this receiver room. That's the crazy part.
What do we have? 4 weeks out from him?
Is that going to be too many mouths to feed?
I don't think so. I think the core of that coaching staff is going to make sure that everybody gets the ball, but it's team mentality. And Aitman, he does. He looks good.
Yeah, he's a star, man.
But everybody was so hot. Excuse me. On Gallman.
Yeah.
But where was he?
Yeah, he's a guy who
Durant
came in with
looked
a lot
good,
of
like
NFL
you said.
experience, and he was supposed to be the starter, but Durant looks like the guy.
He
going
does.
forward.
Absolutely.
Great game. And
I think you got to give him 10 touches a game.
credit to the St. Louis offensive line as well. Big
Sure.
improvement from week 1 to week 2.
Yeah, they protect him, and that's something we said in the preview. Well, I was like, are they going to protect AJ early, or are they going to let them get to him and shake him?
Right.
That didn't happen.
Yeah, and
But I think Perez looked good.
like
And
4 lead changes in this game. It was back and forth. It was 14-11. It was
if you have an 0-2 team, like because we talked about this last week, can an 0-2 team make the playoffs? I think Arlington could be that team.
well, it's not Houston. So, man, I mean, what a schedule out the gate for the Renegades. You got to play victim to St. Louis's home opener in front of that crowd. You had the back-to-back USFL champs in week 1. Now you got DC. At least it's a home game. But, yeah, getting further into this one, AJ looked good. I thought Peta, who's a guy we mentioned on Thursday that didn't really show up against Michigan, looked awesome. Couple of sacks. St. Louis pass defense, still some questions. I think Chris Payton-Jones made the play when he needed to make it on that 4th and 6. That was a huge pass breakup. But overall, I mean, Aitman got behind the defense on that 53-yarder. That was a play where Arlington had a huge drive down the field. They go up 17-14 on a touchdown pass to Sal Cannella. And the very next play, all of a sudden, they lose the lead.
That's right. We found him.
Yeah. Sal, baby.
Good thing I put that APP out. Found him.
Yeah, and they use a couple different tight ends. They were using Austin Allen and Seth Green as well. But, yeah, story was, I think my biggest takeaway from this was if you're Arlington at the end of that game, it's 24-24. The ball was in AJ's hands with 2 minutes left, like Steven Gonzalez told us it probably would be, right?
That's what we want, he goes. We want that.
Do you let him score? Because Durant had a big run, he broke off, and he had green grass in front of him.
Well, I'm going to automatically say no because of my best bet. I want to thread the needle like I said I was going to do. I got St. Louis to win. I got the +5 for Arlington. Yeah, I'm screaming at the TV. Don't let them in. Don't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's a weird play because if they let him score, sure, Perez gets the ball back. Maybe a 6-7 point game. But you want to count on the kicker to maybe miss a field goal. And the way St. Louis played that at the very end with AJ falling on the ball, centering the kick up, and then Schmidt redeems himself, right? He missed a 53-yarder to end the half, and he makes a 22-yarder. And we get our second game of the weekend decided in the final seconds. What game was better Saturday? Really hard to say, right? I think a lot of people are saying the football was better in Arlington, St. Louis. But,
sure.
I mean, from a theatric standpoint,
comeback, baby. Comeback. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I'm going to side with, and I was at the San Antonio game. I think I'm going to side with this one slightly because, right, these are 2 quality football teams. And I think Arlington, like you're saying playoffs potentially still for Arlington. I don't know. This is a stacked league. DC made a statement today. Uphill battle for the XFL champs now to come back. And for DC and Arlington in week 3, feels like an absolute must-win game.
Absolutely.
For both sides. When you got St. Louis with momentum now and San Antonio doing what they're doing, pretty much loser of Arlington, DC week 3, right, is going to be last place. So you've got to win that game. Any last takeaways from this one?
Not really. Do you want to hear from Anthony Beck real quick?
Yeah, Anthony Beck had some praise for his crowd out there. Let's hear it.
You know, I love St. Louis. I love this fan base. You know, to come out here with a soccer game, a Cardinal game today, is awesome. And I'm just glad we're able to get the W for them. I think that's the most important thing. You know, I know they're going to come out, they support our team, win, lose, or draw, but to get a W in front of the crowd on the opener, really important. They got to showcase themselves on national team TV, primetime ABC, so really proud of that, and I thought they were loud. I thought they were exciting, and they were into the game the entire time, and we needed them.
Great run defense, too, for the Battlehawks. 71 yards only allowed. Again, Arlington kind of struggling with that run game again. 3.4 yards a carry. It was 3.3 last week. Perez has too much weight on his shoulders. I like what they did with Lindsey Scott Jr., bringing him in. He runs for a touchdown. He's used in the short yardage package on the point afters, Keep that up. That will help the run game. Last takeaway, Javonte Payton's a star. I mean, you talk about fast receivers, deep threats in this league. We touch on Marquez Stevenson from San Antonio. Javonte Payton, unreal. He's a guy who's going to have his name called in the NFL very soon. So that was Saturday's action. Sunday, Birmingham Stallions were in action. They were 6.5-point favorites. Actually, we were kind of surprised, Zook, this line moved to 4.5 nearing kickoff. So some money coming in on the Panthers did not end up being winning tickets. I want to start in this one with Birmingham's quarterback situation. I'll read you the stat lines first. Martinez, 8 of 15, 88 yards. No touchdowns, no picks. 8 carries, 65 yards on the ground. Matt Corral, 5 of 12 passing, 53 yards and a pick. 4 carries for 28 yards on the ground. Overall, Birmingham just 141 through the air. And that's why TPG's sleeper, Benjamin Victor, came up kind of empty with just the 1 catch for 8 yards. They just didn't want to throw it. And they had a lot of pass plays dialed in there, but they got out of the pocket and took off on most of those, as they had 12 carries combined between the two of them. So I'm just curious what the end game here might be for Skip Holtz as far as Corral and Martinez and how you want to handle this going forward, because he seems to be going with the hot hand a little bit and going with the guy, but they keep making a mistake then right when they get hot. Like Martinez had the fumbled snap. Corral threw a pick. I don't know. I don't know what to make of the quarterback situation. And I know some of you will call for Jamar Smith. That's ridiculous. That shouldn't happen. It's one or two of these guys. I don't know if it's both. Zook, you had a good point about potential injury concern between these two and how that might work out later in the season.
Yeah, and I think that's the game plan. He's going to play the hot hand, but he wants both these guys to get reps. And the way they both run, I mean, Corral, he's going to run into a brick wall, right?
Yeah.
So I actually think that he may consider one of them is going to get hurt. Wow. He wants them both to get some reps so that when one of them goes down, the other guy's ready.
Right. I just don't know if it's a winning formula. I mean, obviously, through the first 2 weeks it has been, but today got kind of too close for comfort for the Stallions. It was it was the defense. So we might have some questions about the pass game. What we don't have questions about is the Birmingham defense. 7 sacks. 45 yards lost for Michigan. I mean, talk about a defensive front that's formidable in the UFL, and there's a lot of them. San Antonio's is very good. Michigan has a great one themselves.
That's what I was talking about. I mean, the balance on both sides of the ball is crazy. And then they get into the fourth quarter. You know they're going to run the ball, and you can't stop it.
161 rushing yards. I said they wouldn't top 183 from last week. I was right about that, but they get 161.
$160 is pretty respectable.
Yeah, they get 161 on the ground. And, we talked about it. Birmingham is a team where they're up a touchdown late in the game, and you're not really worried about a potential comeback like you might be with Memphis or, the way St. Louis had to worry about Michigan last week and the way games are decided in this league. Even like DC late was making a push against San Antonio in week 1. Birmingham, against Arlington, I didn't really feel like it was in doubt. And against Michigan, even though, they were opening the door for a comeback, it just seemed like they were going to slam it shut regardless of how far the other team got down the field.
Right. You feel that way, but they're not putting anybody away.
Right.
So.
Yeah, 1 of 6 in the red zone. We talked about Memphis. They were 1 of 6 in the red zone.
Are they as good as everybody thinks? They're going to win games. They're going to win close games. They're well coached. They're going to get it done. But once they start playing other teams that are the same way, are they going to?
Yeah, the only touchdown Michigan scored in this game was the big explosive play to Marcus Sims, 78-yard touchdown. Michigan will fall in the power poll this week because they're too reliant on explosive plays. And any handicapper would tell you that that's not something that is sustainable. Every touchdown Michigan scores seems to be some kind of wild chaos. They had 14 yards per completion last week against St. Louis. This week they hit a big 78-yard touchdown. And that's not taking any credit away from Marcus Sims. Beautiful route, burned the coverage, dime by E.J. Perry. And it kept them in the game. And then they drive down the field at the end, and they had a chance to tie it up or even win it with a 2-point conversion. So great effort from the Michigan defense yet again to give them a chance to win that ball game. You can't score on them at the goal line. St. Louis had trouble with it in the first 3 quarters of the game. Birmingham had problems with it today. And I'm sure the emphasis will be red zone. Do we go T formation maybe a little farther back? Like, where do we have to be to put the T out? Because right now they're doing it right at the goal line. Is there a quarterback between Corral and Martinez who's maybe a little better in the T, who prefers the shotgun? Seems like they always give the ball to Ricky Person out of that. So you get on film a few times, Person's going to get the ball. Do you pass out of that formation? I've seen Penn State throw the ball out of the T. So if that's going to be their red zone and like goal line set, they got to figure out a way to make it happen, because they missed out on 5 touchdowns today. We talked about Birmingham potentially putting up 30 in this game on Thursday. They could have put up 40. I mean, the ball was there with chances to score. Michigan quarterback situation, Danny Etling comes in shortly, fumbles the ball, comes right back out. We talked about E.J. Perry maybe having a little chip on his shoulder after that and getting back in the game knowing that he was just benched. But sometimes that's what you need. It happened with Luis Perez and Brett Hundley a couple times in the XFL last year. But yeah, overall story of the game is just the Birmingham front seven. 7 sacks is unreal. 8 tackles for loss. They hold Michigan to 47 rushing yards, and that's Wes Hills, who went off last week. 47 rush yards. Birmingham does it again with a 20-13 win. Under Cashes, which was a lean for us, and Birmingham holds on to the cover by the hook. A lot of close spreads this week that people were either winning or losing by the hook. I'm not sure why money came in on Michigan. You know, there wasn't a significant move at the end that would have provoked that. I guess it was just maybe they stay hot like they did against St. Louis. That was probably the low light of the weekend as far as games. We love watching all UFL games, but that one was a little hard to watch at times. Defenders, we're back. That's a dub. Beat the Roughnecks 23-18. Under Cashes by a hook. And the -5 pushes, if that's the number you got. I know that's the number I had for DC. Well, it wasn't easy, and it's never going to be in this league. But when you start a game, you block a punt, and it leads to getting the ball at the 10-yard line, where you then throw a 98-yard interception. Things were looking pretty grim. And all in all, I'm very happy with the result, knowing that that's how we started. So the DC defense only really gives up 1 touchdown here. I think this game was not as close as the score indicated. And sure, I'm biased, but I'll say that because DC clearly game planned for Jarrett Garantano, who is a scrambler, a mobile quarterback, does it with his legs, different type of player than Reed Sinet. And boy, early on, it was going to be a long day for Jarrett. The game plan was working defensively, and then he hurts his back. He can barely make it down the stairs to the locker room at Audi Field. And all of a sudden, enter Reed Sinet. Why was this guy not the day 1 starter? I mean, is there a reason? Am I missing something here? Reed Sinet looked really good.
That's a great question. I'd like to know the answer too.
He looked so poised. He looked confident. He looked ready. He was prepared. He wasn't nervous. He looked like an NFL quarterback today. And he just doesn't have anything around him. I mean, some of the receivers made plays. Kiki Chisholm, Justin Hall, Kirk Merritt. I mean, They score there.
Oh,
That might be ball game.
oh yeah,
You
dagger.
have to feel for Merritt because he goes from wide open touchdown to, I think, breaking his wrist the way he fell on it on that fumble recovery. So Sinnett just has no offensive line. I mean, they killed him at the end, and that's the mismatch we talked about. That DC front against the Houston offensive line. Well, it turns out, DC only had 1 sack, but the penalties from the Houston offensive line, they get 3 delayed games or false starts right at the end there, and it absolutely crushes 2 10-second runoffs. They ended up with eating 20 seconds on the clock when they didn't have timeouts. Reggie Barlow made me sweat for no reason at the end of this. He called a timeout with 2:11 to go. Just let that go to the 2-minute warning. Like, I'm sure, maybe Reggie answered questions about it, but
That was horrible.
and not just because they were talking about it on the broadcast. I think even if you had the game muted, you'd scratch your head a little bit and say, well, if you run that down to 2 minutes, you don't give Houston a free timeout. You end up at your 1-yard line. And hats off to Paxton Brooks, by the way, the punter. I mean, made that look easy, standing in the shadows of his own goalpost.
It wasn't even that, though. I'm going to cut you off. Because of that timeout, they got a free timeout, and they got to kick the ball. And DC had to run a play before the 2-minute warning. Like, he double screwed himself on that. That's
Mismanagement of the clock.
not acceptable. You got to be better than that.
Yeah, for the most part, I think the 4th and 7. I talked about DC against San Antonio settling for too many field goals, not going for it on 4th down. The 4th and 7 was one of the more interesting situations of this game. So DC's down at that point, 18-15. They've got a 4th and 7. Reggie doesn't know if he wants to send Matt McCrane out because it's like 57, a little past his range.
Is that 58?
It was deep. Yeah,
57,
which McCrane
58,
has a leg
whatever.
on him, so I know Reggie has confidence in him, but from 58, no go. We're going for this on 4th and 7, and we're in 4-down territory. That's a tough down. That's not a high percentage play, and they came out lined up in something. I guess Houston didn't like what they saw. C.J. Johnson calls timeout. And what Fred Keist drew up in that timeout pretty much won the game for DC.
Right. Horrible timeout. We're
Yeah.
talking about it live. We're like, why would you do that? You just gave DC all that time
Yeah.
to figure out what they wanted to do. And damn, did Fred draw up a play?
Yeah.
That is the play call of the game.
And one that you need execution
oh,
because
man.
you got everybody coming for Houston. And you got Jordan rolling right. And you got Alex Ellis on the outside with 2 against 1 in front of him.
Right.
So you have to execute the throw.
Who throws that block? Because that block
Yeah.
was sick. That was
One
good.
of the linemen. Yeah.
Yep.
You got to execute first, not taking a sack because everyone's in your face. Then you got to execute the throw, and you got to get the blockers outside. So great play call, and it worked like a dream. DC. How about Ty Scott? I got to highlight Ty Scott, man. 4 catches for 87 yards in week 1. What did he have this week? A catch, 17 yards, touchdown.
While you're looking at
1 target.
he deserves a starting job, right?
It was his only target.
He deserves a starting job.
Absolutely. Yeah, Brandon Smith came out.
Because
with
he's
an
not there
injury.
yet, right?
No, he was not a starter. Normally the 3 receiver set here is Smith, QT, and Harmon. But it turns out Chris Rowland and Ty Scott, who are 2 guys who are kind of rotational receivers, end up the best receivers on the day. And Briley Moore, our guy. We had him on in week 1.
That's right.
We said he would emerge as tight end 1 this year. And boy, did he. What a catch. I mean, the guy he makes the art of the spectacular catch just look too easy. The way that he stretches out for these. And I love the touchdown chug celebration. Very fitting with the beer snake. Yeah, I think Zook, you're at the point with DC where you want to see him lose, but I think you were sweating for me.
I was.
At the end of that game.
Listen, I told you how important the XFL versus USFL record is. Everybody wanted to jump on us and say, "Oh, week 1 we're 2-0."
Overreaction Monday.
you
That's what they
guys
call it on
suck.
McAfee. Yeah.
Now we're 2-2.
Yeah.
We're looking you right in the face,
A lot of ball game left.
and we're telling you, We're coming.
I'm just glad that a lot of you
Right?
who mentioned me and sent tweets, you didn't delete your tweets. I'll give you that. Because I screenshotted them anyway. I told you guys I'm keeping a list. Everybody's on the list. Come get some, baby.
This is going to be unpopular comment here, but DC 4-16.
Like John DiFilippo on Saturday afternoon, I will take a breath, count to 10, and collect myself when I hear ridiculousness. We already heard Mike Mitchell in his article say they'd be 5-5. After 1 week, after maybe 2 weeks, I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion, but I'm here for it. I want to be the underdog. In fact, I noticed that DC, who was plus 280 in the preseason to win the title, went to plus 550 last week. And guess who picked himself up some action at plus 550? Me. And if it,
That's
we'll
not
see.
bad sauce, though.
That's
I
probably
like
the
that.
worst it'll get.
I like that.
I don't know. Arlington next week will be tough.
If you didn't take San Antonio plus 1,200 at the beginning of the season.
They were 1,500 at some books.
Was it 15?
Yeah. Talk about a long-term investment. Just a team defying the odds of San Antonio. Like I said, I'll never get over that 70-1. 70-1 live odds to win, and they pull it off. But yeah, DC made the 4-for-4 final possession UFL weekend come true yet again, where Reed Sinet had a chance at the end, threw it to the end zone for his tight end, and Reed Sinet deserves a starting job. Phenomenal third quarter. He ends up 19-30, 221 and a touchdown. Houston didn't sniff that in the past game last week. They still got to work on the run game, just 50 yards rushing. DC, though, back to 3-for-4 in the red zone, which is important. The RPOs were hitting today. They were well executed. And shout out Darius Higgins. Him and Chris Rowland, I think, two guys that aren't going to get enough credit this week because, you look at the stats, maybe they don't show up as much. But, man, Darius Higgins might be the feature back in DC. Getting a lot of touches. I think they gave him like 11 carries, and he scored a touchdown. So back from injury, great to see him. DC still a lot to clean up. Cannot throw a 98-yard interception to start things off. Pass coverage could get a little better, but it was a typical Audi Field game where you get a takeaway that's improbable, and you don't know how you ended up with it, right? And that's what ended up being the difference with DeAndre Baker swiping that ball out of the hands of Kirk Merritt late in that game. So that was your week 2 in review, and we got to put it all together with our new Boulevard power poll. If you're on podcasts, I'll read it to you. It's Birmingham at the top spot. This was hard between 1 and 2. They'll say I'm XFL biased. I'll prove you wrong by putting Birmingham still above San Antonio. I think it was a more complete game from the Stallions against a tougher opponent. I actually think the Panthers are better than the Showboats, so I have no reason to put San Antonio up at 1. So it's Stallions 1, Brahmas 2, Battlehawks up a spot to 3, Defenders at 4, Panthers at 5, Renegades at 6, Memphis at 7, and Roughnecks at 8 in the basement. This wasn't as hard as last week where I had just a mess of teams between 3 and 7 that I wasn't sure what to do with. I feared Michigan was maybe a little overrated, and they just don't have the pieces offensively. Marcel Belfay has a lot of work to do. They struggled to run the ball this week. They struggled to throw it both weeks. They rely too much on explosive plays. I think 5 is a safe spot for the Panthers just because that defense is really good. I had Memphis at 7 coming in to this week, and I'm keeping them at 7 until they could beat somebody. I don't care that Arlington's 0-2.
I know.
I don't think Arlington is losing to Memphis if they play today.
I agree. I like Arlington over.
I mean, what they showed in St. Louis is a team that could win a couple of football games.
I actually like them. Me personally, I like them over Michigan.
Yeah, that was one I was close on. I don't want to devalue the Michigan defense yet. I was impressed with the way they kept themselves in the game today, and they're for real. Plus Jake Bates, I don't know. I don't know if there's a kick he can miss, and that's huge in this league. If you got a kid that's that cool, it just doesn't hear any noise, he's not human. And they're not even like, oh, maybe he'll miss. Like, oh, here it is. Like, is he going to miss? No, they're right down Main Street. So as long as he's there, I'll keep them at 5. St. Louis and DC is the one I think I had the most trouble with at 3 and 4. I think DC had a more dominant win than you think they did today, because when they actually get the game plan for the quarterback that's in the game, you'll see the difference, I promise. When you throw Reed Sinnett into that situation today, Greg Williams had to make adjustments on the fly, which he does very well, and he was very good at. But that's our poll.
I don't think that's the difference, though. The difference is the game opened up for DC once they started running the ball.
Right. Yeah, because the RPOs, we were talking about the slants that they do.
Yep.
When Jordan pulls it and decides to throw it, they weren't hitting like they normally do. And then they settled in. They started giving the ball to Higgins.
Because you're not stacking the box while they're doing it.
Right.
So, opens up a lot of things.
I guess we could touch on Houston for a second. Do they win a game?
Oh, absolutely.
You think they win a game?
Oh, yeah. I think they're talented enough. I think they might win 2.
I don't know what to make of
I'm going to go with 2.
the offense, because now you figure that's probably it for Garantano, right? After tonight. You think Sinnett's the guy. And then Mark Thompson, who's their star running back, potentially comes back off of injury. Maybe they get some pieces back, but they lost a lot today. They had a guy, Justin Hall, who's their main punt returner and receiver, get hurt at the end, and Kirk Merritt was motionless on the field.
That's a concussion. He'll be back in 2 weeks.
Right.
I think once you give Reed the first team snaps all week, he's going to get better. He looked great.
Yeah, like I said, like an NFL quarterback.
With being the second guy, and he got no snaps this week. You know that, right? Let's see him with a full week's prep.
Yeah, Reed Sinnett, a guy who got hurt for the Brahmas last year and really didn't get to show his stuff, and he comes right back, and just an interesting situation there. But DC's defense, they're going to lean on them many times. And they had a couple guys out. Monte Nicholson was out. Andre Mintz was out. They had some guys banged up. I think there was a corner that was out as well. So once they get healthier, they'll be okay. And I think that they're still well in this playoff race. And also still a chance to be 9-1, right? Like they were last year. Put that week 1 loss right behind them. Well, that's all she wrote for us tonight. Want to thank you for joining us live. Guys, we really hope you enjoy these highlight shows. By the time I get to the end of that package, I'm gassed. So thank you to Zook for keeping me on track with some of these. We have a lot of fun doing them, and we appreciate the feedback that we're getting. Being multi-platform this year, we want to get to you wherever you're comfortable with being, whether it be YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, wherever we go. Maybe we'll go to Twitch someday, so who knows. We got to get out there, and we got to get in front of the people, and we do the Battle of the Brands tour because we want to do just that. So drop us a like on the video before you get out of here. Subscribe to the channel, share with your friends, and we'll keep doing these for you guys every Sunday night. Until then, we got week 3 coming up. We'll have a Thursday night preview for you. Again, 4 more games and a really big chance for the UFL to increase their ratings after some real tough competition here in the first 2 weeks. For the producer, director, and owner of Studio Z, Chris Zook, I'm Matty Fresh, and always remember, there is no such thing as football season. We'll see you Thursday night.